David Skidoosh Andrews is perhaps one of the most fun people I have ever talked to. It is hard to have a conversation with him and not just have a grin on your face almost the entire time. Today in this one, I have focused on the FPV community, the division, the factionalism. We put all that aside. And we talk about the things that are awesome in this community, about how it transcends borders and boundaries and religion and race and language, and how it ties and unites so many of us together. I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that you get a lot out of it. One quick caveat, I messed up my end of the audio. Long story short, updated Skype, forgot to check settings. Instead of going through my mic, it was going through my AirPods. AirPods sound like crap in this. I did my best to recover it, and I'm very sorry. It is going to be hard for some of you with things like tinnitus to hear. But hopefully it still comes through all right. And last thing I'd like to say is I want to thank my patrons. There have been a lot of weeks over the past few months that I have just wanted to say, forget it. I'm not putting anything out this week. I'm tired. I'm worn out, whatever. And it is the commitment that my patrons have made to me that I feel like I have to commit back to them to do this thing that I do week in and week out. Sometimes it's tiring and exhausting. Life happens, right? If you would like to be part of that commitment, then I invite you to check out the link in the description below. It will get you a podcast of all of these interviews. And it also will kind of bring you into the community that drives me forward. So I really appreciate it. Thank you very much to my patrons, and you guys enjoy this.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you the man from China, David Skidoosh Andrews. How you doing, man?
What up?
Ladies and gentlemen, David, in case you don't know this, is very reserved. 100% not a fun guy, and definitely is not into really enjoying himself with FPV. So it's kind of going to be a boring show. I hate to tell you that, but felt like I had to have him on.
I can't believe you even asked to have me on, Mike. I was just floored. Who wants to talk to me?
Who wants to talk to me, man? How you doing, buddy?
Wants to see this face?
Right.
Doing well. Obviously, I'm pretty sure the world is aware of the virus floating around here. And so the streets are it reminds me of I Am Legend with Will Smith outside right now. It's just barren, deserted. Actually, right before we connected here, I'm editing a video of me flying down the middle of the road. And we just got word now, as it stands, if you go anywhere, if we go outside of the gate or anything right now, they temperature check you, blah, blah, blah. But now we just got word that we are only allowed to leave our complex under an emergency. So, we just got that a minute ago. So I guess there's nobody can tell what the real numbers are because,
Yeah. And
we won't get into all that.
Yeah.
I'm living right now.
Just to put it in geographic perspective, I think the way you explained it to me was that you're from, so Wuhan is the epicenter, right? Or Wuhan, however you're supposed to say it.
Wuhan.
You're about as far from Wuhan as Florida is from Virginia. I think.
Right, about 400 miles.
Okay, yeah, so that's about right.
About 400 miles, so I'm a little closer.
Okay, so, but in terms of air travel and things like that, you're just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Right. And it hit right at Chinese New Year where everybody's scrambling. It's the biggest migration on the planet. There's millions of people moving around China. Millions.
Actually had thought about that, yeah. But, you're safe, which I think you've had. I think you had to post something the other day that was hey, thanks for checking up. We're okay.
I have a few friends, all over the world.
Right.
So I was getting inbox messages from everybody, and And a lot of it's the FPV community, which,
Yeah.
I have friends everywhere, from Australia to Germany to Denmark to USA to, Thailand.
So you know what?
just-
Let's dive into that, because we're so just to normally when I come into an interview, and this is for the viewers and for you, and I typically have a pretty regimented set of questions and topics, and I was like, you know what, we're just gonna kind of go where the wind blows us on this one. So we do this thing called FPV, and it's freaking amazing. Like, we get to fly, right? And not only that, but the community is global. Yeah, I mean, look at your wall behind you. I mean, these are all wall queens, but that's the set. um,
Well, this whole side over here are all flyers. From all
Okay.
those tags right there, those are all my different race ID
Yep.
pilot race tags.
Okay,
All these over are all my flyers.
very cool.
Those are the nostalgias over there.
Right, the ones that'll never, or that might. What? Let's see, you got a bi-blade. What is that over on the far left hand side? Your left.
Yeah,
hand
that
shoulder.
was like one of the first ones I ever built.
Mm-hmm. I can tell it's old because you've got bi-blades on it, and it looks like old.
That has
bi-blades.
the very first original version of the red bottom motors.
Oh wow!
From Emax, with bi-blades and a Naze 32.
You mean those? Wait, these are actually the V2. No, these are the V2.
Yeah, those are the newer ones.
Those are the newer ones. Yeah, dude. But so, I mean, how many, talking about being in China and having so many people reach out to you, how many people do you think you've connected with via FPV throughout the years?
Oh my God. It's so unbelievable. Like, because we do big events here.
Right.
Like, one of the things I don't put out there is, like, I fly for my little posters over there. Let me scooch the camera a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm a IDRGP pilot.
Okay.
Here, I'll walk you over there. And that's my official poster.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, that they put up for us when we go fly the events. And what it is they're like sponsored events, and the local government of wherever they're having these events fly us all in from over the world to race.
Oh, that's cool.
So, like, we did one in Gulag, which is like just off of Tibet, 14,000 feet up in the Himalaya mountains.
Holy cow.
And if you look on my Facebook page, as we were leaving, we all took our passports and put them in a circle, and there's 20 different countries.
That's awesome.
It was like me and Heiko, and I've met Lexi, and I've flown with old school, like I've flown with Luke Bannister. I've fly with Thomas several times. All the Korean guys. I was just in Thailand with HJ Sun and Young Rock at a private field for 12 days practicing my racing because I suck compared to them. So I learned a lot down there.
Right, yeah.
No hope of beating them, but,
right.
I don't think anybody in my age bracket can beat me. If anybody in my age bracket.
Well, I was going to say, I thought you were going to say nobody in your age bracket could beat one of the younger kids, but yeah, dude, I don't, go ahead.
That too. I mean, I'm 52, so I'm no spring chicken. And, just the fact that I've like placed in like top 10 with some of these pilots that I've flown with is just mind boggling.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
So yeah, it's really cool because they fly the local people that are doing it fly people in from all over the world. So, the whole Hong Kong, I know every pilot, let's just put it this way. I know I've flown with almost every single pilot that flies on DCL.
Wow.
Like Dane and
Jedi.
Luke and Brett and all the freaking Eric Holden and every Korean guy, they come here all the time. So
yeah.
MCK and Young Rock and Min Jae, the little kid that flies there. Min Jae's an awesome kid.
Yeah.
They're, me and HJ are real good friends. So it's really cool being where I am in that sense.
So is it fair to say that FPV has made your world closer and smaller?
Absolutely. And here, one of the big things I've been talking about with this new FAA and stuff like that,
Mhm.
you know, like we come together. There's guys from Korea, from Germany, from England, from America, from Australia, all of us with different religious, political views, life, whatever.
Mhm.
But all those lines are erased.
Yep.
They're all erased. We're all just there to have fun and fly. Nobody cares,
Mhm.
you know? And that is just, you know, it's just a miraculous thing to not
Does
short
it
sell it at all.
does it even transcend language?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, because there's a lot of times where we don't even speak the same language,
Right.
but we can figure things out. You know, we're patient enough to figure things
Right.
out together. You know, all right, it's your turn to fly, or here, man,
Mhm.
let me help you with that receiver, or you know how this
Right.
community is.
Yeah.
I mean, Trappy and I, like 3 years ago, right? Luke Bannister came, and Brett, and Freybot, and Metal Danny, and like a bunch of the old school original racers. We did like
Yeah.
the first like X-Fly thing in Shanghai together.
Mhm.
And Trappy and I are sitting there, and this guy had crashed and couldn't get his quad up in the air. Luke Bannister had a spare Crossfire that he took, installed in the guy's radio, configured it for him, and put a receiver in his quad so he could fly the next heat. And we're like, that's what's up. I think he was like 12 at the time or 13,
Yeah, he
and we're
couldn't.
like, this kid is showing.
Yeah.
This kid is showing everybody how this community should work.
Yeah.
You know, and this is back in the day when there wasn't the controversy that there is now. You know, our biggest argument back then was thumbs or pinch, or Spectrum or Free
Pinch,
Sky.
Yeah. Free Sky forever. Right?
You know,
Yeah.
didn't have all this separation and people picking camps like we do now. It was just a community.
Yeah. So just as a side note, have you heard from Luke Bannister in a while, or like where do you know if he's fallen off the map?
Every once in a while. Oh yeah, he's still racing. He's still pretty hard into it. You know, he's all into the DCL thing now because they're two-time champs. He's on the next plane team. He hasn't been here in a little while, but every once in a while I'll chat with him on Facebook or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not too often, but what a cool kid he is too.
Yeah. I have.
If you go look at my Facebook page, I think, well, actually on my YouTube channel, there's the Gulag edit and a couple other edits of races here in China. And we have like a picture of us all holding up our passports and like it's so cool.
I'll see if
I'm pretty blessed to be able to
find it or have you send it to me. Because I mean, you know, that's the thing. Like I literally for the most part fly alone. If I'm not flying alone, then I'm flying with my son, and I love it. It's still amazing. It's still awesome. I feel like, you know, here recently, I feel like I've been progressing and like getting better. And but I know so many people around the world that if I were to like drop in at their doorstep, they'd be like, "Hey, dude, come on in. It's great to see you." Right? Yeah,
welcome.
You even said that. You were like, anytime you want to come out to China, come on. I'm not coming now. But
not now.
Not now.
There's no
not
flights
now, ladies
anyway.
and gentlemen. They won't let you back in the United States.
I don't even know if they'll let you fly in right now. I think all the flights are canceled.
Yeah, I don't think that. From what I heard, I mean, granted, I'm not there. But I think there's 8 or 10 cities under quarantine.
Yep.
And I mean,
that's
it's just like
a lot of places shut down. Like everything is.
It's the single largest quarantine ever in the history of the world. So, it's crazy. But anyways, I mean, how many? We digress. How many places do you think you've been that you walked up or walked onto a field, went to a race or something, and saw someone that you only knew from, say, Facebook, but it was like you two were the best of friends?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Just in Ningbo, Willie and I, Wild Willie, you know, we've been friends forever. We've even shared things back and forth. Yeah. You know, we both have like common sponsors. So, and, we saw each other's face from across the room and it was just like, hey, bro.
Right.
And it was amazing. And then somebody was coming up and take, like, oh my God, can I get a picture of you two together? Two legends in the same place. And I'm just like, legend?
What? I'm not that old yet.
Hold on. Well, considering how young the hobby is, I'm OG, I guess,
How long have you been flying? What year did you start?
I started, you want the, what do we call it? The
origin.
Story on how we get the origin. Yeah.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what. Let's hold on. Let's hold on to that for a second, because
your show.
Because I definitely want to like emphasize the goodness in this hobby. Like you said, there's like everybody's drawn lines and there's factions and there's camps and there's we don't need to name names. Everybody knows where all the lines are drawn. The fact of the matter is that you or I could walk into IO right now and run into Seth Eakin or Chad Capper or Trappy, and probably fisticuffs would not be thrown. Right? Like, it'd be cool.
No way. I'm friends with all of them. Chad and I have been close for years, and Trappy and I too. I have never met Seth, so I can't speak on him personally. I've only seen what, keyboard warrior stuff goes on. I don't even care. I don't even care. But, all of them have known equally across the board my feelings that I am friends with all of them. And that's one of the reasons, like, when all these lines started getting drawn is when I had designed my frame and stuff like that. And a couple of people were asking, can we put your frame in our store? And that's when the controversy was starting up and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I don't care about making a dime or even getting my name out there for that matter, if it means I can't be friends with this person because this person is selling my frame or whatever. So I said, nope. I said, if anybody wants the STL files, give me your email and I'll send you the files and you can do what you want with it. And I did cut like 20 of them back in the day. And there's a few out in the wild that I gave to people and this and that. But this design's 2 years old now. So, I just was not going to get involved in any of that. I'm just not, even with my YouTube channel, I don't really promote it or, I don't have like links and go subscribe at the end or any of that stuff. I have like 2,000 subscribers and I get like 500 views, right? I would rather have that than have 10,000 subscribers and 1,000 views.
Right.
Because that means that people that are subscribed to my channel, 25, 30% of them, 40% of them are actually still watching my channel. Not 1% or less than 1%. Right. Like there's some of the shirt tail people out there that because they hung around in this group or that group or whatever, people subscribe to their channel and you see they have like 7,000 subscribers and then you look and their video had like 200 views. I don't want that on my channel. That makes no sense to me. I want friends and people that are really interested in what I'm doing. Like even with this, if you guys go to my channel right now and click on a couple of videos and you like it, subscribe to me. But don't shirt tail me because I'm on the Mike Rollins show. I don't need it. I don't care. I want to have fun. I want people to like and enjoy me. That's it.
And and here's the thing, right? Like I for the longest time didn't put out flight edits, and because I was like, nobody wants to see me fly. I'm not good. I'm not in anywhere near a top pilot, right? And then a couple people called me out, and I listened to Sander Sasson. He was like, he made the comment that he was running he was part of a major FPV company, and he couldn't race, and he was like, I better basically figure out how to do this because like I don't have any credibility. And eventually, I was like, okay, you know what? I think I talked to Vic, and I was like, I'm gonna go put out a flight edit, and I did, and everybody liked it, but they didn't like it because my flying was awesome. They liked it because it was fun, right? Because like
Exactly.
I'm plowing my quad into the ground and it's catching fire, and I pick it up and I'm laughing, right? And that's how your videos come across. It's like I actually have, I've been watching your videos. I enjoy it. I am subscribed to your channel. Um, but
Thanks,
like
man.
you'll like goof off with people and like hold the camera so you can see up their nose while they're flying, right? Like you just did that recently, and it's like, and you're like kind of, you can tell that you're in the background just kind of giggling a little bit, right? And it's like that's why we do this, man. That's it's not
Pick their
it's
lip with a piece of grass. They think there's a fly on their face. While they're flying.
right. I mean,
Yep,
it's just
absolutely.
messing with people,
That's
having fun.
100% it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's I watch your videos because of the same thing. Actually, one of my favorite pilots to watch.
Hmm.
What is I forget his FPV handle is Frosty or something like that.
Yeah.
It's from our Discord group, which is Drone Disorder now. Back in the day, it was Dead Band.
Yeah.
We actually did podcast anyway. His daughter is Totes McGoats,
Okay.
and she's like 10 years old, and she has her own little YouTube channel, does her own little thing, and it's like the greatest thing ever because it's so real.
That's
You
cool.
know, her just trying to balance the quad and like fly under a bench, and then she picks it up
Right.
and she does her little vlog thing, and
Hmm.
it's, I love that shit.
Yeah.
It's like the best.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, and it's like I got like one of my favorite. Like I used to, for a while, I was trying to do the vlog thing. I've messed around with all this for a while, and one of my favorite edits that I've ever posted is my sons and I flying in a field. We were doing a prop review, right? And we had one quad between us, and we went out into the field, and like at some point one of my sons just broke out dancing. He's doing, messing around, and he's dancing around my other son who's flying, right? And I'm like, I go back to that video all the time, and I'm like, man, that's one of the best memories I have, right? And like, I can go back and live it again every time I want to. And I mean, I think that's what baffles me about all the factions and the tribalism and all the stuff that happens. It's just like, guys, like, we literally do this thing that is based on like joy. I mean, how awesome is it? Go ahead.
Just go have fun. One of the big things for me, and we'll probably talk about this later, is like everybody that knows me, I put it out there immediately. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I've been clean for 10 years because back in the day, 10 years ago, I was a homeless junkie in the streets. And one of the things that happens is all those years of me lies and manipulation and all that stuff, it puts my brain on an on switch that I just cannot shut off. My ADHD, I got 50 million things running through my brain all the time. And with the business now, so anyway, long story short, when I put those goggles on, that's 3 minutes that my brain does nothing else but focus on one. It just shuts the world out.
Yep.
And it's just an absolute relief for me, And even further, only like if you've been flying for a little while, you start getting your spatial awareness. Like you walk into a park and you start looking around. And like now when I even walk into a room or down the street, I'm so aware of everything that's around me. Like I know that there's a bench 20 feet behind me. Just my brain just logs it. It's crazy.
Well, and I think the other thing that always makes me laugh is I'll be driving around and I'll be like, oh, that'd be a killer spot to fly.
Before you're just driving down the street looking at the next stoplight, and now you're like, wow, I didn't even know this was here. This is only a block from my house.
Yeah, I was.
You actually looked around.
I one of my favorite spots to fly around here. I was taking my son to like tutoring, and we drive by this park, and I just look at this park as I drive by, and I was like, that'd be amazing. It's like one line of trees in a field, and then like a copse of trees. I've actually flown it recently in a video. So, anyways, yeah, I mean, just like, I don't know. Sometimes it just baffles me. I'm just like, we're here for something that is joyous and fun. And like you said, it's all consuming for 3 minutes at a time. And, even to the point where there seemed like, and Zoe, and I talked to Zoe a little bit about this, and there's another guy here locally that's a disabled vet. And both of them have told me, they're like, look, man, I put the goggles on and I go up in the air and they suffer from chronic pain. And for 3 minutes at a time, it just shuts it down. And they're just amazed by it. And I am too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. There was part of the deal with this frame, right?
mhm.
I started getting a lot of hate on it because this came out around the same time as the Chameleon.
Yep.
And I'm friends with Chris LaRoe, right?
Yeah.
He even went on my page and said, it's nothing
Not
like
a
mine.
clone.
Not even close.
Right. Yeah.
Because at that time, what people didn't know is Chris had actually sent me a Chameleon. I actually have two of the new titanium, what are they, Marmots up there on the shelf that he sent me.
Yeah.
Anyway, he sent me a Chameleon with the motors and a few things on it. And I put all top of the line FPV gear in it. And it wasn't, just wasn't quite what I was looking for at the time with the Armaton motors, whatever. I flew it like 2 or 3 times, and I actually was going to do it. Anyway, long story short, when I went back to America that year, a friend of mine had a teenage son that was in an accident that was trapped in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I gave him that quad.
Mm-hmm.
So
awesome.
For 3 minutes at a time, that kid's out of the wheelchair.
That's right. There's a Hector, what's his last name? He is anyways, he's wheelchair bound. And I follow him on Facebook, and he's always talking about like, hey, listen, like when I'm flying, I'm not in the wheelchair. So guys, it's just amazing.
We did the late night show thing, the Rotor Riot late night, and Captain Uno was there. One of my favorite people forever. You know what I mean? Yep. Me and him are tight. But there was a guy that came there that was in a wheelchair, paraplegic, could only just steer with his hand, to the live set or whatever. That connected with Robert, Captain Uno, to get a thing off the ground to get all the people that, his paraplegic community, his, handicapped community, to get them in the air. And I'm not sure what they did with it, but they exchanged emails, the whole 9 yards. That's all the stuff that people don't realize that goes on. And it's not even just the flying. I mean, it's consuming all the way, look at my bench.
Right. Yep.
I mean, nowadays, in the beginning, of course, I'm trying to smack bills together because I just wanted to fly, and it's getting frustrated. But now that you have 4 or 5 on the wall, I'll work on one for an hour or two, and I got nothing going on, and then just walk away from it. And it's no stress. It's almost like a meditation time. And, when I started this, like one of my biggest hurdles, I'm not scared of building things because that's what I do. Mm-hmm. But like, I was like flashing firmware. I'm not a tech guy by any means.
Right.
I was like so scared to plug something into my computer that cost $50 and brick it, because there wasn't a whole lot of selection back in those days. It was like Clean Flight 1.2 or something like that. And so, fast forwarding, because I wanted to learn how to fly, now I know there's about 2.4 gigahertz, 900 megahertz, 5.8 video feeds, analog, cameras, camera settings, flashing firmware, just
you've been
lipos, how they work, chargers, self-educated on so many gazillion things. And I can just see so many kids out there that just grab onto this and do the same thing. It's just insane.
For me, it was actually the opposite. So I'm a software guy. I really honestly don't think I had ever built anything with my hands until I built my first quad, which is actually back in that shadow box back there. And I think I worked on it for 2 months, just slowly watching videos, going component by component. Had no
It's my
freaking
first.
idea what I was doing with a soldering iron. I mean, I didn't even know at the time that you were supposed to use like a sponge to get the solder off. So like I put a piece of wood on my countertop and I would like drag the soldering iron across the wood to try to clean. I mean, it's
Wood
just like,
burning.
yeah, wood's burning. I mean, I wish I need to go find that piece of wood. It'd be hysterical. But like, I mean, for me, it was an education in electronics and batteries and how, I knew how like gyros and flight controllers and stuff like that would work a little bit. And I knew definitely about firmware, but so for me, it was the other direction where it's like all of a sudden I'm like, you know,
It spills over into so many directions that we
right.
just can't even. It's so deep,
Yeah.
and a lot of this has spilled over into my work, because I told you I build the small electric, and as far as battery capacities and, what I do is just one giant ESC with one giant AC motor, so a lot of it crosses lines for what I do in my job for me to innovate, make things more efficient, lighter, fast,
Yep.
whatever, better.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it just, and, watching my sons pick it up. My oldest son, he just wants to fly. My middle son, he's fascinated by the theory and the electronics and all the cool stuff. And he's also probably a better pilot than I am, but don't tell him that. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
just,
my
I don't know.
son flies here every summer, and
Uh-huh.
within 5 batteries, the kid was doing power loops, and I was like, it took me like
Screw
5
you.
months.
Right. Right.
Skidoosh is awesome. I mean, I just don't know what else to say. He is amazing. He has a wisdom and a joy that just transcends life. I mean, you talk to him, and even with him being in China, through the screen, everything that's going on in his life, because he's in the area of China that's on quarantine and lockdown, and there's the coronavirus. I mean, all that. The guy still has a zest for life that is palpable. I love it. I love talking to him. It was so much fun. In the next episode, we dive into Skidoosh's past, not his origin story, which we'll get to later. We dive into his addiction. We dive into him being a junkie. We dive into him hitting absolute rock bottom, how he got clean, and how that affects who he is today. It's heavy. I'm not going to lie. I'm not shying away from heavy. And I hope that if you're struggling, or if you know someone that struggles, you can maybe take something out of this. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.